What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here in our early round decision series, breaking down the fantasy football decisions you guys are going to be asked to make at the very top of your fantasy football drafts, and I will give you the right decision. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Ton of other of these early round decisions on the channel. We just came out with Trey McBride versus Mark Andrews, a bunch of running back and wide receiver ones already out, so check all of those out to make sure you make that right decision. Wide receiver values, running back values, sleeper series already all out in the channel. League winners coming soon, in-season content as well. If you want to win your fantasy football championship, it's really simple. Simple. It's really simple. Hit that subscribe button. If I can figure out how to talk the rest of this video, it'll be a good one. But today we're talking Saquon versus Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's get into it without further ado. So we're talking Saquon first. Last year, obviously, got the massive deal to go from the New York Giants to the Philadelphia Eagles. Contract up to $47.65 million, $26 million guaranteed. Instantly goes from one of the worst offenses and quarterbacks to one of the best offensive lines and better quarterbacks in the entire National Football League. Meaning his efficiency as a runner, that yards per carry number should go up dramatically. He's still a good talent, I believe. I do think, though, that where the new Eagles offense could hurt him is his role on the goal line. Everyone expects him to be an absolute dynamo for fantasy football. It's difficult to do that, though, if you're not scoring touchdowns in bunches. The the tush push, whatever you want to call it, in Philadelphia, they use it a lot with Hurts on the goal line. They run him in. Are they going to be able to do that this year? Are they going to do it the same degree now that they have a running back that they've invested so heavily in, like Saquon? We will see. Only time will tell. The one thing I will count on, though, is, like I said, the efficiency he should increase from being behind a competent offensive line. He was playing behind a bad offensive line, and he goes past competent all the way to great. He played a great offensive line in Philadelphia and a good quarterback who can run the ball to help, keep that edge defender, hold him, that edge rusher on the zone reads, things like that. I think he should be really efficient. And Saquon can score plenty of times, not from the 1 yard line. He could score from the 5. He could score from the 20. Like, he can do it himself. I still think he's going to score touchdowns. I just don't see him being one of those guys that puts up 15 rushing touchdowns on the ground, which I think he would be capable of in this offense if it wasn't for that goal line tush push strategy that they love to deploy so often. But I still have him projected this year for 10 total touchdowns. I have him for 270 carries, 1,242 rushing yards. I also have him being a factor in the receiving game, 45 receptions, 315 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So, like I said, 10 total touchdowns I have him projected for, a healthy amount of yards. That would have made him number 2 or number 3 in the league last year in yards from scrimmage. Obviously, these were projections, though. But I think Saquon is going to be very good for fantasy football this season. And moving on to Jahmyr Gibbs. So Gibbs this last year was the RB8 in points per game as a rookie. That's absolutely fantastic numbers. And a big part of the reason that he was able to do that, 52 receptions helps a lot. So does 10 rushing touchdowns. But I want to throw out some stats. So he averaged 14 touches when Montgomery returned from injury. He had an even bigger role before Monty went down. But once Monty came back, he got his opportunity. He shined. He kept a bigger role rest of season, which is big. He had a 12.3% target share, a 40% carry rate, and 49% of snaps inside the 20, which is a really good number. Last year, another stat I want to throw out there. Obviously, a lot of people, Monty scored a ton of touchdowns. He wasn't the goal line guy, but he ranked 14th in carries inside the 10, and that includes his slow start to the year where 3 out of 4 first games he had 8 carries or less. Wasn't really utilized the first quarter of the season. Like I said, finished the RB8 in points per game. This is another team. Great offensive line. Great offense. They're very creative. They throw the ball to running back. That's one of the areas I think he has room to grow. I think he's going to catch more passes this year. I think that yards per reception number is going to jump up dramatically. I think they're going to use him down the field. I think he's a dynamic player. I think a lot of it was just his head was swirling in year one as a rookie. not thinking about, oh, am I going to option to the right? Am I going to option to the left? Turn around, read the right zone, make the right read, make the right play. Just thinking a little bit too much. I think he's going to be able to slow down a little bit more this year. I mean, you shouldn't be able to average 5.2 yards per carry and average 6.1 yards per reception as he is talented and smooth of a pass catcher as Gibbs is. I think that number could jump up to 8 or 10 this season. 10's, a little bit up there if he catches 65 balls. But he's the type of player who's athletic enough and skilled enough in the passing game to average 10 yards per reception. But I think he'll be over that 8 yards per reception number this year. I think he's going to catch 65 balls. I'm projected for 215 carries as well for 1,100 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns. I have him catching 4 touchdowns in the passing game, though. I have that number going up. I think he's just one of those guys that's going to be able to score a ton of touchdowns with how explosive he is and how good this offense is. And I have him getting more volume to be able to keep those touchdowns up this year because I think it was a little bit more than he had last year. But Gibbs is one of those guys. He's currently my RB4. You really just can't go wrong with drafting this guy. He's got the hamstring injury, and yes, that would scare me if I'm drafting this week. But they're saying he's good to go. He's young enough that I'm willing to bet on it. I still would take Gibbs in round 1, albeit I would probably take him closer to the end. I'd take, an Amon-Ra over him. Some of these safer players now, definitely I would take ahead of Gibbs. But between him and Barkley, Gibbs is the pick to me. I think they're both good players for fantasy football. But Jahmyr Gibbs as well, if Monty goes down, has that upside of being just the guy in that Lions offense, and that would be a person who can push you towards a fantasy title, and there's no doubt in my mind. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you want to win your fantasy football championship, beat all your friends and family, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe.